What is the most pathetic thing you've seen someone do for attention? Story 1. When I was in high school, there was a pretty bad bus accident when the bus driver fell asleep at the wheel and a lot of people were hurt, some very bad. One girl was in a coma and sustained brain damage. Another walks permanently with a limp and has facial scarring. One guy had the bones in 2 of his fingers crushed and now the mobility of his hand is permanently affected. I went to a really small high school and it was a pretty big deal. It was a national news story for a few days too. If you're curious, pretty much everyone on the bus that crashed sued anyone who was remotely associated with the accident, from the owner of the bus company to the teachers who were on the bus with the students. And some people got quite a bit of money. Anyway, there was one girl who claimed all sorts of damage from the accident. She came back to school wearing a brace on her leg and arm, would cry if anyone mentioned the accident, and made up terrific stories about the crash itself and the nightmares she was having, and would just go on in a really ridiculous way about the accident. Come to find out, she wasn't even on the bus that crashed. She was on another bus. And the scramble and craziness after the accident, she went to the accident and pretended to have been on the bus and made up all of her injuries. Story 2. In college, I was walking to class one day, and there was this frat bro going the same direction in front of me. Coming the opposite way is a very attractive woman in business attire. She was a bit older than the average college student, maybe late 20s, early 30s, and about a billion times classier than frat bro. Frat bro stops the lady and starts trying to chat her up, asking for a number right off the bat. He's hitting on her like she's a freshman and not understanding why he's making no progress whatsoever. After a brief exchange and a polite dismissal from the lady, she continues on her way, leaving frat bro dejected. Then I see the wheels start turning in his head. He's standing there with his hand on his chin, pondering how this woman could have possibly not been seduced by his charm. And suddenly, his eyes lit up as he thought he's had the most brilliant flash of insight in his entire life. He removes his shirt, shouts, "Hey!" And when the lady turns around, flexes with all his might. She rolls her eyes and resumes walking away. I absolutely lost it at this pathetic display. I got a smile and a wink from the woman as she walked past me, almost crying from laughing so hard. I've never seen such an absolutely pathetic expression on a person's face as that guy afterward. Story 3. I saw an overweight college girl ride a mechanical bull at a bar wearing a really short skirt and no underwear. When she fell off, she took a long time getting up, using every opportunity she could to roll around with her legs above her head, / way over. The entire bar ground to a halt and watched this girl drunkenly fooling around trying to stand up while exposing herself as much as possible. When she finally got up, she looked around and realized that everyone in the bar had the same shocked, traumatized expression on their face, and she burst into tears and ran and hid in the bathroom. She had probably been planning that all week. Story 4. My teacher was reading passages from books, and one of them was about a girl who was adopted. And this one girl, Rebecca, ran out of the room crying. Later that day, she made the teacher apologize for talking about adopted kids because she was adopted. Get that attention. There were so many of these stories from my high school. One of my teachers was a very well-respected historian, and he was teaching a class about civil rights, and he said, "I'm going to say the N-word, but not out of disrespect. You just need to understand the exact examples I'm giving, okay?" Then when he said that signs would say, "Keep N-words out of school," a group of 2 to 3 black girls stood up and ran out screaming, "Oh, hell no, he didn't say that, racist-ass white boy," etc. They tried getting him in trouble with the administration, but they were like, no, he's teaching you about civil rights. Story 5. I knew a woman who, as a college student, went to Australia for a semester. She came back with the accent and kept it. When I knew her, this had been going on for more than 5 years. She was from North Carolina. So, you blokes and shailers, what are your stories? Story 6. A girl at my school faked a brain tumor. Well, tried to. She told everyone that her mom had texted her saying she had cancer, then came in the next day saying she had her operation and had the tumor removed. When asked why they didn't shave her head, she said it was because she asked them not to. Oh, okay. Story 7. This girl in high school I was kind of friends with, like this guy in her math class. To get his attention, she fell out of her desk in the middle of class. Then she did it the next day, and the next day. That was her plan to get him to ask her to prom. It didn't work. Story 8. My girlfriend's sister, we'll call her Carrie for the sake of these stories, is the queen of doing unnecessary, pathetic things to get attention. She overdramatizes everything and does whatever she can to bring the attention to her. When there's nothing to overdramatize, she just makes shit up. About herself, about her family, about her friends, about whoever or whatever. Just blatantly lies for attention. My favorite example. A guy Carrie barely knew in college and who's several years older than her, but ran in a similar social circle, unexpectedly committed suicide after a fight with his then-girlfriend one night. It was a really sad event on campus. He was a really great guy that was widely known and widely liked. However, he was diagnosed mentally ill, depression and schizophrenia, was off his meds for some reason, and was drinking heavily, with disastrous results. All of a sudden, Carrie is hyper-depressed and telling everyone that will listen that she is having a secret romantic relationship with him, that they are in love, that he was planning on leaving his girlfriend for her, and that they were planning on eloping together. She started telling everyone about how much she missed him, how she couldn't stand to be alone, etc., etc. His girlfriend caught wind and confronted Carrie about it publicly. Carrie started to back off, saying, "Okay, maybe I overstated how involved we were. I made the stuff up about eloping, but we definitely were hooking up, and he told me he loved me." When pressed further, she started to ramp down her story more and more. "Okay, we only hooked up once, but he said he really liked it and wanted to do it again." Then, "Okay, we never hooked up, but we spent a lot of time together privately, and I really cared about him." It finally came down to, "Okay, fine. I only met him once at a party, and we barely talked. But I liked him and wish I could have spent more time with him. Are you happy? Why do you have to be so mean? I was just trying to feel like I fit in. Who cares if I made a few things up about him?" It made me feel like I was part of his life. So she was spreading lies about this kid who had just died. And even after she was called out on her bullshit, she still needed to make it about her and how everyone is so mean to her and how she didn't deserve to be treated like that, etc. Just one of many such examples.